Now let's talk about food related and the meal service. So every time when a meal is counted as being reimbursable, it has to be at the point of service. The point of service is at the time the reimbursable meal is given to the enrolled child or participant. Attendance records cannot be used. Just because someone's in attendance does not mean that they received a meal. Like I've been to several places where a child got sick and they're sitting in the office waiting for their mom to pick him up, even though it's a meal service time. Or maybe that they're there during the meal service and the mom's like, don't feed the child because I'm picking him up to take him to a dentist appointment. So there could be situations where a child is in attendance and did not eat. You cannot count that as a meal. The only meals that can be served are those that a child is actually sitting and eating a reimbursable meal. Something else that you have to have is labels. If you do not have these labels, we cannot ensure that the item that you said was served, and we would have to take back meals. So make sure if you say that you served it as a whole grain, you have your whole grain labels. You have your lunch meat labels if you base it off the food buying guide. Any labels for yogurt, breakfast cereal, and any product formulation statement or CN labels that you have on hand. Providing food components. It is allowable for a parent or guardian to provide one creditable food component for a reimbursable meal. So let's just say it's breast milk, or maybe you have a doctor's note for almond milk and the parent brings the almond milk. As long as it's a creditable component, they can bring it. If the parent's like, hey, my son wanted donuts for breakfast and they brought donuts, that's not a creditable component. It has to be something that is an actual part of the reimbursable meal. The parent can bring one item for all ages. It doesn't matter. And it's not considered a donation because it's only for their child. It's not for everybody. Again, they can only bring one component and it's per meal service. So say it is the breast milk. You could have it for breast milk for breakfast, lunch, and snack. So it is per meal service, but the child care provider has to provide all the rest. If the parent's bringing two items, then the center cannot claim the meal. The parent can only bring one. Water, it must be offered and made available throughout the day to all children or adults. Water is not part of the reimbursable meal, but it cannot be it cannot be served in place of milk, but it can be offered alongside of it, or maybe at snack if you already have your two components. We have a couple of type of meal services. One that is very common is family style. If you do family style, we just say, please reach out to your health department first before you do so. It was stopped with Head Starts are required to do family style. And I think like 4 and 5 star have to do family style. So just check with them to make sure that it is allowable before you do it. I really like family style. What family style is, it allows children to serve themselves. That's what family style is. They're serving themselves. Component and full serving sizes are in the bowls or platters that are placed on the table. Supervising adults may help provide assistance, but really the child is the one that needs to be serving themselves, or the adults that need to be serving themselves. Again, there's enough food in the bowl for in the required portion size for each. Participants or the children may take smaller portion amounts. They don't have to have the full amount on their plate. It is actively encouraged children and adults to take the full serving, but you cannot force them. Now, I know Head Starts do require that, but we're just letting you know what the CACFP rules are. Meals are reimbursable as long as all the food components offered in the required quantities were offered on the table. So again, what I like about it is I feel there's less plate waste. I really like peas and most kids don't. And I noticed at one center I was at, there was 10 kids. One kid ate their peas. The rest of them didn't even touch it and they threw them all away. Well, the thing what you could have done is kids to have a tendency to eat better when it's their decision to put it on their plate. And they also tend to eat better. Sometimes the full serving sizes on the plate can get overwhelming to them. So they can put a lesser amount on their plate and then maybe put more on there. But my thing is, if I like peas and nobody else does, I would have eaten all 10 kids peas. And then I would have still probably eaten my fruit, but it's not my favorite. I may have let somebody else eat it since I'm eating all the peas, but I find there's less plate waste. And it does let kids encourage and put them on they tend to eat it better when they're putting it on the plate themselves, and it's their decision. Again, they can put smaller portion sizes, but their full amount is in the bowl. So they can take more, or again, maybe some other child, because you're not going to let a child eat off of another kid's plate, but you would let them eat what somebody else that they didn't want that's left over in the bowl. Offer versus serve. So this is only for our adult daycares and for our schools that participate in at risk. Nobody else is allowed to do this. So again, if you're a regular daycare center or Head Start, they have to have everything. Offer versus serve is allowed for our adult daycares and schools that are doing at risk. And the reason why is because schools already do it during the school day, and adults, they've been eating for 60 some years, 70, 80 some years. And so they know what they want and they know what they don't want. So they are allowed to decline some food items. Offer versus serve is allowed at breakfast and lunch, but not at snack. So at breakfast, there's only 3 components that are required, but if you do want to do offer versus serve for breakfast, you have to offer 4 food items. So they can have a milk, a fruit, vegetable, or a grain. And then the 4th item can be a meat alternate or an additional fruit component or an additional grain component. So let's just say you do milk, you do fruit like peaches, you have toast and eggs. That's 4 components. They can decline one of the 4 components, or I'm sorry, one of the 4 food items. It's 3 components, 4 food items, and they can decline one. They have to have 3 food items on their plate. And it doesn't matter which one. They can decline the milk, they can decline the fruit, they can decline the grain, or they can decline the 4th. They can decline any one that they would like. And then for lunch or supper, they have to have, this is done by components. So at breakfast, they have to have 4 food items. At lunch or supper, it's by components. So they have to have milk, meat alternate, vegetable, fruit, or grain. So that's 5 components, and they have to have 3 components on their plate. So let's just say they have milk, spaghetti, which is the meat sauce, and the grain, fruit, and a vegetable. So if they really took, say, spaghetti and green beans, that's 3 components. Even though it's 2 food items, it's 3 components that's on their tray. Now, unlike the schools, there's no requirement for having to have a fruit or a vegetable on the plate. That's only for schools. That's not for CACFP. But for CACFP, you can do offer versus serve for breakfast and for lunch. Some common questions that we get is, what would cause us to take back money on the food side? So one is if you do not serve at least 1 whole grain rich item per day, if you serve juice more than 1 meal service per day, or if you serve juice to an infant without a doctor's note, if you serve a lunch meat that doesn't meet requirements, if you serve a grain-based dessert, if you didn't have the correct quantity served as per your menu of serve form or per your receipts, if you serve a food item that's not found in the food buying guide and you don't have a CN label or a product formulation statement, if you don't have any of the labels that were required, if your quantities or components are not even listed on the menu of serve form, or if you do meal delivery receipts, you have contract meals and you did not keep you have to have the contract meal delivery receipt. That is your menu of serve form. So if you're missing those, we will take back funds. So if you do have any questions, again, reach out to us in the office, or you can reach out to your program specialist. If you don't know who it is, you can go into the manual. It tells you their territories. If you're still not sure, you can find it in the business maintenance page. It depends on what manual it is, on what page that your program specialist will be. It has their email address, their cell phone, and the counties of their territory. Their cell phone, so you can text them as well. They're the ones that conduct your reviews, approve your forms, will come out and do some technical assistance, meaning they'll look at all your stuff. It won't be a write-up if it's technical assistance. It's only at reviews when we have to write it up. And again, they're the ones that can answer most of the questions that you have about the child nutrition manual, about any guidance, and your day-to-day food program. Here in the office, we handle mostly your claims and your application and agreement. So if you have questions, then you can contact our office here. In the back of every manual, we have our blank pages, and you can find that on these pages here, depending on what manual that you have. We also have in the resource library, we have worksheets. That's our interactive forms, and we have some stuff under center forms. If you are an at-risk program or an adult daycare, you'll find some other stuff that's specific to you in your section. So check there as well in the resource library. And sometimes if it's a financial matter, we'll also have it in the financial sections, things like that. So if you have any questions and you don't know where to go, you can contact us. We gave us your information. You can email us. Let us know. We want to set you up for success. We want you to be successful at the food program because it really is a great program. Getting these kids having better food choices. So if you have any questions, we are here to help you out. Please do not hesitate to contact us. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the year.